Billie Holiday was born on April 7, 1915. According to conflicting sources, she was either born in Philadelphia as Eleanor Fagan or Baltimore as Eleanor Harris. Her mother, Sadie Fagan, was only 13 years old when she had Holiday. Her father, Clarence Holiday, was a successful jazz musician who abandoned her and her mother shortly after her birth. Holiday was introduced to jazz while running errands in a brothel, listening to records by Bessie Smith and Louis Armstrong. Around the age of 10, Holiday was raped. After she revealed that she had been attacked, she was sent away to a Catholic reform school. She and her mother moved to New York City in the late 1920s. By the age of 13, Holiday began working as a prostitute. By the age of 15, she was singing in Harlem nightclubs without any classical training. She was discovered by a producer named John Hammond while performing in a jazz club when she was 18. From there, her fame began to soar. In Lee Daniels' film, The United States vs. Billie Holiday, saxophonist Lester Young, played by Tyler James Williams, performs and tours with Holiday, played by Andra Day. Young gave Holiday the nickname Lady Day.
As a fan of Billie Holiday's, it was exciting that we would be vindicating her legacy and that the world would finally know her as truly what she was, which is the godmother of civil rights.
Holiday first sang Strange Fruit publicly in 1939 in New York City at the Cafe Society, which was the first racially integrated nightclub in the U.S. It was a protest song against the lynching of African Americans. The song was first written as a poem by Abel Meeropol, a Jewish communist who taught high school in the Bronx. He wrote the poem after seeing this picture of two black men who had been hung. Holiday's record company, Columbia, refused to record and distribute the record out of fear of retribution from those who opposed its message. So she recorded it with Commodore Records instead. Mind you, this was 16 years before Rosa Parks refused to get up for a white man on a Montgomery, Alabama bus, igniting the civil rights movement. Holiday's song was, quote, the first significant protest in words and music, the first unmuted cry against racism, according to jazz writer Leonard Feather. The Federal Bureau of Narcotics, led by Commissioner Harry Anslinger, directed Holiday to never sing the song again. But Lady Day refused to stop and continued to sing it until her death. Since Anslinger couldn't arrest her for performing, he used her addiction to heroin to entrap her. Anslinger believed black people forgot, quote, their place in American society when they were under the influence of narcotics. He thought jazz was, quote, satanic, and the musicians who played it, quote, reek of filth, as he once stated in a federal memo.
Shocking and controversial things have been happening to black people since we arrived here, and we've got to tell the stories.
In Daniel's biopic, Anslinger, played by Garrett Hedlund, hires a black agent named Jimmy Fletcher, played by Trevante Rhodes. After getting close to her, Fletcher busts Holiday for drug possession. She was sentenced to a year in a West Virginia prison, where she was forced to work in a pigsty, among other places. Her prison files showed that her manager, Joe Glazier, worked with FBN agents to set her up for the arrest. And then, once she was released, her cabaret license was revoked, restricting her from performing in any venue that sold alcohol. But Holiday was not deterred. She began performing in New York's club Ebony after striking a deal with the owner, John Levy. He had a relationship with law enforcement, allowing Holiday to play there without the fear of being arrested. Levy became her boyfriend and manager in the late 1940s, joining the ranks of men who used her to advance themselves. In 1949, Levy planted drugs on Holiday, setting her up to be arrested by federal agent Fletcher once again. But this time, she beat the case and was released. Louis McKay, a small-time New York City gangster and pimp, was Holiday's last husband. At times, he would beat her so violently that she would have to tape up her ribs before performances. Lady Day gave her final performance in New York City on May 25th, 1959. Shortly afterward, she was admitted to the hospital with heart and liver problems. This gave her husband McKay, who was estranged from her at this point, the opportunity to work with FBN agents to set her up one last time. Narcotic agents were sent to her hospital bed and claimed that they found less than 1/8 of an ounce of heroin in her room. They confiscated her comic books, radio, record player, flowers, chocolates, and magazines, grilled her without letting her talk to a lawyer, fingerprinted her, and took a mugshot of her where she lay sick. Then they handcuffed her to the hospital bed, and then they stationed 2 police officers at the door. They had orders to turn away any guests that didn't have a written permit. Billie Holiday died in her hospital bed on July 17, 1959, at the age of 44. The only money she had left was $750 strapped to her leg. McKay, who was still legally married to her, inherited her full estate. More than 3,000 people showed up at her funeral to say goodbye. Lady Day fearlessly took the U.S. government head on by refusing to stop singing one of the nation's earliest protest songs, even if they were going to kill her.